listening to my history of biology book. The guy that spoke, I need to smoke. Hey, take me away, music. Take me away, book.
The extraordinary diligence and power of Swammerdam and Réaumur give a very prominent place in the biology of the 17th and 18th centuries to the structure and life histories of insects. The great generalizations of comparative anatomy do not belong to this period. Nevertheless, sagacious and luminous remarks are not wanting. End of section 4. Section 5 of History of Biology by L.C. Mial. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Period 2, 1661 through 1740. Continued. Adaptations of plants and animals. Natural theology. Natural adaptations and some of the problems which they suggest were much studied during this period. Bach and Cesalpini had discussed still earlier the mechanisms of climbing plants, aquatic plants, and plants which throw their seeds to a distance. Swammerdam figured, not for the first time, the sporangia and spores of a fern. Hook, the peristome of a moss. The early volumes of the Académie des Sciences contain many studies of natural contrivances. Perrault described the retractile claw of the lion, the pointed papillae on its tongue, the ruminant stomach, and the spiral valve of a shark's intestine. He improved upon Hook's account of the structure of a feather, and his magnified figures of a bit of an ordinary quill and of a bit of an ostrich plume might be inserted into any modern treatise on animal structure. The second of the two has actually been so treated, but without mention of
life here in the universe. Write the check, I do universe. Write the check, I perform life for you. Anytime, when the time's strong, when I'm up at time. That's where I start at, in my palm. It's written down, it was written like my stone. I'm like the king's son that I am. Whoop a mellow out when I need him. Matter of fact, look at me, you are seeing, cause I look just like it. Bagging, count Washingtons. I don't throw them in the air. But take me away.
Nero's name. Poupart followed the later stages of
got the right sounds on.
Merry gave a minute yet animated description of the woodpecker's tongue, explaining how it is rendered effective for the picking up of insects, how it is protruded and retracted, how it is stowed away when not in use. Tournefort figured the oblique fibers of a leguminous pod, which he called muscles, and showed how they twist the valves and squeeze out the seeds. Natural theology was much in the thoughts of the naturalists who studied and wrote between 1660 and 1740. Ray discoursed upon the wisdom of God as manifested in the creation. Swammerdam regularly closed the divisions of his Biblia Naturae with expressions of pious admiration. A long list of books expressly devoted to the same theme might be given. See Krause's Life of Aramis Darwin. One weakness of the natural theologians was their habit of looking upon the universe as existing for the convenience of man. Still more fatal was the partiality with
listening to the universe. Hearing what it's saying, what it's signaling me. Doing what's living, all the organisms. Would take me away now on emergently, urgently.
Which they stated the facts. While they dwell upon the adaptations which secure the welfare of particular animals or plants, they are silent about the sufferings caused by natural processes. Spontaneous generation. During many ages, every naturalist thought that he had ample proof of the generation without parents of animals and plants. He knew that live worms appear in tightly closed flasks of vinegar, that grubs may be found feeding in the cores of apples, which show no external marks of injury, and that weeds spring up in gardens where nothing of the sort had been seen before. Certain kinds of animals and plants are peculiar to particular countries. What more likely than they should be the offspring of the soil? Fables and impostures supported what all took to be facts of observation. The great name of Aristotle was used to confirm the belief that insects were bred from putrefaction, eels and the fishes called amphiae from the mud of rivers. A belief in the process of transmutation was often combined with a theory of spontaneous generation. Francis Bacon not only held that insects were born of putrefying matter, but that oak boughs stuck in the earth produced vines. Towards the end of the 17th century, it occurred to one inquiring mind that a particular case of spontaneous generation, which had been accepted by everybody without hesitation, was capable of a less mysterious explanation. Francesco Redi, 1626 to 1698, physician to the Duke of Tuscany, published in 1668 an account of his experiments on the generation of blowflies. He found that the flesh of the same animal might yield more than one kind of fly, while the same fly might be hatched from different kinds of flesh. He saw the flies laying their eggs in flesh, and dissected eggs out of their ovaries. When he kept off the flies by gauze, the flesh produced no maggots, but eggs were laid on the gauze. Redi concluded that flies are generated from eggs laid by the females. He also studied
Call it land eggs.